to Prime Edition. I am Cynthia Nyamai. Now, they are back home in their millions. They are back to Baringo from Tanzania. For the 4 months they were away in Lake Natron, the migratory flamingos of Baringo have hatched, and now they are back. And we will be having a special edition for you tonight called the Baringo Flamingos. You do not want to miss that. And also, some of you have been calling us and asking, what is going on with my M-Pesa? What is going on with Kenya Power? I do have that story for you, that and more coming up shortly. But first, let's have the highlights.
No data has been accessed, no data has been lost. We had foreseen this. We have established and operationalized the Office of the Data Commissioner.
Attack on Kenya's cyberspace, eCitizen, M-Pesa and KPLC digital portals among crucial targets of cyber warfare.
We must agree as a nation that in our political equation, there will be no violence.
National security not negotiable. President Ruto warns against what he terms retrogressive opposition politics.
Raisi wetu wako tayari kuongea na wewe for as long as tusiharibu Kenya, tusichome mali ya watoto wetu wasikufe.
You don't have to talk to us. You don't have to talk to Raila. Just listen to the people.
And it is a change of tune. Kenya Kwanza embraces truce efforts even as Azimio counterparts express mistrust.
Welcome back. Now, we would like to hear from you. Remember, so you can send us your comments on our social media pages. That is KBC Channel 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and also Instagram. Now, Kenya this week has been a target of a major cyber attack targeting various websites and disrupting service delivery. The attackers, however, failed in their attempt after they were thwarted by the National Kenya Computer Incident Response Team Coordination Center. A statement by the Information Communication and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo has said no data was lost during the attack and that the relevant agencies are working to resolve the problem and secure the platform. The affected sites include eCitizen platform, Kenya Power, among other popular public websites. A statement from the Ministry of Interior has said the eCitizen platform has been restored.
For the last 4 days, Kenyans have been complaining about slow internet and major downturns affecting major government services. Key services on the eCitizen platform, like the payment of driving licenses and passport renewal, were affected. After days of public concern, the government has said that the cyber criminals failed in attacking government websites. In a statement, Information, Communication and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo said that over the last week, there have been unsuccessful cyber attack attempts targeting both government and private sectors. The statement in part reads, and I quote, "The attack on the eCitizen platform entailed an unsuccessful attempt to overload the system through extraordinary requests with the intention of clogging it, but our technical teams blocked the source IP address where the requests were emanating from. As a result of the attack efforts, however, the system has been experiencing intermittent interruptions that are affecting the normal speed in accessing services on the platform." End quote.
No data has been accessed, no data has been lost. We had foreseen this. We have established and operationalized the Office of the Data Commissioner and anchored it on law. To ensure that they execute the mandate of both data privacy on one hand and data security on the other. Apart from the Office of the Data Commissioner, we have also constituted a multifaceted team within government, whose mandate is to ensure that in a proactive manner they are constantly monitoring the trends globally in cybersecurity.
Kenya Power was also affected, with some services such as the purchase of prepaid tokens through M-Pesa and the USSD code being unavailable. A spot check by KBC in Nairobi revealed the magnitude of inconvenience experienced by Kenyans, with the M-Pesa app also experiencing challenges.
Nilikuwa najaribu kulipia mtu simu ya loan, but message ikaionyesha imeenda, but kwa wale side ya loan wanasema bado hajapata hiyo message.
Kwa natuma pesa kutumia app ya bank. Kwa mwenye nilikuwa namtumia pesa, yeye kwake anaona pesa amepata, na kwangu mimi sijarudi kuangalia balance, na balance yangu iko vile vile yenye ilikuwa.
Nilipatiana deposit ya 500 kwa kiosk. So it is after like 25 minutes ndio niliona message ikasema complete transaction. It's only now that I'm learning that it was a general problem.
There is only one customer ndio niliona akitumia app na ilikuwa inamwambia service is not available. That's why nikamrefer atumie sim toolkit.
Ukiangalia pia Citizen pia nayo pia inasumbua. Ukienda kuangalia mambo yako ya passport maybe hizo pia inasumbua hiyo.
One of the M-Pesa attendants who sought anonymity says that other services such as SIM registration were also unavailable.
Sisi wana biashara leo hatujaweza kuregister line za Safaricom, hatujaanza kufanya replacement, na tena kuna watu wenye walikuwa wanatumia app, unapata mtu anakuja ku withdraw the cash but I end it through.
It is the high time now our security agencies be alert, and also they must take care of the cyber attack and everything, because this can collapse every system of our government.
This comes even as the Minister of Interior in a statement says the system outage on eCitizen has been resolved, with services on the popular government-owned website being restored. After hours of inconvenience and uncertainty, Kenyans are hopeful that the affected entities have put measures in place to avert similar occurrences in the future and that their data remains safe. Nancy Okware, reporting for Prime Edition, Nairobi.
Thank you, Nancy, for that report. Now, President William Ruto has challenged leaders to engage in peaceful and constructive politics. Dr. Ruto maintained that the time for competitive politics was over. The president, who spoke in Lamu County, termed as retrogressive politics of violence and destruction of property.
President William Ruto kicked his 5-day working tour of Coastal Province by inspecting development projects in Lamu and Tana River counties. In Lamu, the president officially opened the county commissioner's office in Mokowe and later issued sharks to the local fishing community. It's here where the president took issue with what he termed as politics of destruction. The president urged the police to act firmly to maintain law and order within the confines of the constitution, adding that security of the nation is not negotiable.
Wherever you come from, wherever you're going, we must agree as a nation that in our political equation, there will be no violence. There will be no destruction of property. There will be no loss of life.
The president urged provisional administrators to shun politics and focus on their duties.
Our security agencies must discharge their mandate firmly, professionally, to make sure that they protect life and property.
Shida hizi zikitatuliwa, tutakuwa na amani ya kudumu na hawa wananchi watachangia pakubwa katika ujenzi wa taifa letu.
On devolution, the president said the government will disburse 32 billion shillings shareable revenue for counties for this month as early as today, Thursday. Leaders accompanying the president pledged their support in delivering the government's development agenda.
Yeye anachokitafuta anakijua yeye mwenyewe. Na mheshimiwa rais hata simama akasema, lakini anajua wazi hazungumzii maneno ya unga, kwa sababu kushukisha unga si kuvaa kofia. Mipango ya kushukisha gharama ya maisha iko na William Samoei Ruto.
Wanaokupinga wanajua kuwa program zako zikisucceed 2027 hawana bao, si itakuwa walkover.
Sisi tunakuunga mkono ili kuhakikisha unatekeleza agenda ya maendeleo ya Kenya.
Na mimi naona itakuwa ni legacy that you will leave behind, that you are able to empower counties kuweza kuyafanya haya yote.
Later, the president commissioned the rehabilitation program of the Tana Delta Irrigation Project and issued checks to the local fishing community in Tana River County.
Let me bring you back here to Nairobi, where Parliament today adjourned its scheduled business to discuss a motion on reported cases of alleged police brutality during the opposition-led street protests in various parts of the country. The motion by Kisumu West MP Rosa Buyu divided members during party and allegiance lines. As the minority wing sought answers to the killings, the majority dismissed their pleas, saying the police were carrying out their duties of protecting property and preventing the infringement of rights of the larger public. A similar debate also took center stage at the Senate as Azimio senators claimed the state was politicizing the police force.
These are not demonstrations. No picketing. What we have witnessed is sheer anarchy. It is riots. It is anarchy.
So, Madam Speaker, let us not use the floor of this House to create a picture of a partisan police force, Madam Speaker, those police service. We must be careful of that, Mr. Speaker.
If they were shot on the back, it means, and we saw clearly that the demonstrators were throwing stones, meaning the people who shot them were the ones behind them, not the ones who are in front.
Madam Speaker, the kind of brutality that has been meted out on innocent and armed citizens in the last couple of months is unprecedented.
Demonstration, destruction, mass destruction, and I haven't seen anybody saying that that was wrong. They are very, very happy. Come out, they have succeeded. It's only that this time the policemen and women said enough is enough.
Because as much as we condemn police, we must condemn hooligans who have taken law into their hands, Madam Speaker.
Don't fight people who are not armed at all. The image of this country is so bad. The image of the government is so bad. You owe the nation an apology, and you must compensate for the lives you have killed.
State whether this discriminatory practice of withdrawing security detail against a section of senators will be continuous, in which case then these signals are worrying.
Kilifi Chief Magistrate Justus Kituku has granted police officers 14 days to continue holding the key suspect, a house help who allegedly killed Kilifi County Blue Economy and Fisheries Chief Officer Rehab Karisa. The 14 days are meant to help the DCI complete investigations that will unravel the death of Rehab.
Investigating officers in the murder case of Rehab Karisa urged the court to grant them 14 days. Chief Magistrate Justus Kituku has given the police the green light to hold Diana Naliaka, that is the prime suspect. At Limuru Law Court, 14 Form 4 students from Kijabe Boys High School have been arraigned after rioting causing malicious damage of property worth $1 million shillings. Principal Magistrate Monica Mugeru granted a cash bail of 20,000 shillings each until they sit for their KCSE.
They are aged between 16 and 18 years old. The court directs that the proceedings to be taken in camera. The media houses present in court shall have the opportunity to be given an extract of the ruling of this case from the court administrator as soon as the same is ready from the court.
And the first respondent has also filed a PO.
And it is a reprieve for Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja after the High Court declined to issue order stopping the county school feeding program. Justice Mugure Thande said stopping the program will prejudice the children who are benefiting from the school program.
Article 53(2) of the Constitution enjoins this court to ensure that the best interests of the child are of paramount importance in any matter concerning children.
The petitioner had moved to the court arguing that the school feeding program is not the mandate of a devolved unit.
That a parent will only have to pay 5 shillings a day, shilingi 5. Mtoto wake apate chakula na tunda and a fruit every day. I don't understand the kind of person who can try to stop such a program, you know. So I want to assure the parents, not to Nairobi, I will fight for this program until the very end.
Elsewhere, the hearing of Okodho Bado's murder case continued as the key witness, a taxi driver that drove Sharon, and the hitman to the death scene.
Now you can't position the key by your how will you just give a camera?
Mmoja alikaa inside na mmoja alikuwa nyuma yangu.
This side unarudisha
mkono wangu wa
left side mbele ama nyuma. Na huko mwingine
akapia nyuma mkono.
So back left na back right so. Niko amekaa. Msichana ambaye alikuwa na mimba na yule kijana naye wako wapi?
Alikuwa kwa gari yao.
So wako sandwiched. Wako katikati.
Jackson Gombe explained to the court the route taken and the destination to a bushy thicket. But while cross-examining the witness by defense lawyers, Jackson appeared to have forgotten the exact timings and the kilometers of the many routes they took. The case continues Friday. Ruth Wamboi for Prime Edition.
Well, EACC says it is currently investigating over 150 forged certificates of staff in public service. That and more coming up shortly after the break.
Cheza Loto Moto. Sasa unaweza jishindia instantly na Loto Moto. Dial *570 hash. Wakati wowote, siku yoyote ya wiki na mahali popote. Dial *570 hash. Kisha chagua moja kati ya games za Loto Moto. Weka stakes zako 50 shillings, 300, 500, 2,000 shillings. The bigger your stake, the greater or the bigger your prizes. Cheza mara kadhaa na kumbuka, cheza responsibly. 18 years and above. Cheza Loto Moto.
Mtoto wetu ako na kisirani, sijui kama ni bibi alimchapa jana, ni drama dioe.
Hani nyanyuki ama na nini hiyo simio? Tupia thrower, is it part?
Ati?
Tupia artist thrower, is it a part? Yangu leti. Nilitumia mbolea yako kuchora. Huko unasema. Hapana. Enda kwa labor ward.
Kwa labor ward ama kwa labor wafanyikazi? Kule kwa wafanyikazi.
Si ndio kwa labor ward.
Si labor ward.
Labor courts.
Labor ward ni pale ya mama kujifungua.
Sio huko. Why are you working with me mheshimiwa? Kwa nini? Nauliza.
Mimi naargue na wewe.
Anga utakola kumangana kwa tayari mheshimiwa. Anga wache tuongee na mama. Unaelewa?
Welcome back. Now, a section of leaders from the Kenya Kwanza have now called for a truce between President William Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga to end what they termed as heated politics temperatures in the country. Led by the United Democratic Alliance Party Secretary General Cleophas Malala, the leaders said that the country's stability is at stake if the political standoff continues. This even as section of Azimio leaders led by the Orange Democratic Movement Party Secretary General Edwin Sifuna dismissed the idea of a political handshake, saying what they are pushing for is for the Kenya Kwanza administration to address pressing issues affecting Kenyans, more so the high cost of living.
Reasoning voices continue to characterize the otherwise polarized political atmosphere, with a section of leaders giving a note to calls for truce between President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga. A section of leaders from the Kenya Kwanza, led by UDA Secretary General Cleophas Malala, have called on the two protagonists to give dialogue a chance.
Our president is ready to engage with any Kenyan. Hata Raila Odinga ukitaka rais. Wewe uko na simu ya rais, piga simu State House, rais wetu wako tayari kuongea na wewe. For as long as tusiharibu Kenya, tusichome mali ya watu, watoto wetu wasikufe.
But speaking separately in Nairobi, a section of Azimio leaders led by the ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna have dismissed the need for dialogue.
You don't need to call Raila. You don't need to talk to him. About what? The problem right now is not about who's not talking to who, but who's not listening to who. That is the problem in this country.
Speaking after attending a requiem mass for a victim of the deadly protest in Jericho, Sifuna said Kenyans want the cost of living addressed.
And we are saying for us, you don't have to talk to us. You don't have to talk to Raila. Just listen to the people. Just reduce the price of unga like the people are telling you. Repeal the Finance Act.
In the meantime, Nairobi County Assembly Minority Leader Anthony Karanja has condemned the recent anti-government protests, stating that the destruction costs have jeopardized the country's economy.
Hii maandamano ambayo inapangwa na hao watu wa opposition sio ya kweli. Ni vizuri pia kusema ya kwamba wanatumia silaha vile ulisikia polisi wakisema, na tumeona si siri, hata nyinyi wanahabari mlikava kijana mmoja hapa Karen ambaye ni wa former president ako na zaidi ya bunduki 100 kwa nyumba. Akiulizwa ni za nini, anasema ni za kwenda kupiga ndege hapa Mwea. It is not acceptable and we cannot continue like that.
Timothy Kipnusu for Prime Edition.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, says that it is currently investigating over 150 cases of forgery of academic papers held by persons serving in the public service. EACC Deputy CEO Abdi Mohammed, who appeared before the National Assembly Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee, said 13 cases are pending before courts, and as Abdiziz Hashim reports, EACC has been granted, listen to this, orders to recover all the salaries and benefits and based on forged academic papers.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, now says there is a ticking time bomb in the job market that could implode the fundamental teachings within the education sector, if unchecked.
My name is Commander Mwafrika.
Appearing before the National Assembly's Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee, EACC Deputy CEO Abdi Mohammed reveals the Commission's attention has been drawn to the growing surge of fake academic papers that are being used to secure employment.
Now, the issue of fake certificates is actually our main area now. That is a time bomb in this country. There are so many fake documents. We are investigating people who have worked for even 8 years with fake documents. We are making recommendations for them to be charged, and we are also recovering the funds that they have received.
Mohammed says that there are over 150 cases reported within the public service.
But we can give you the statistics of the number of fake certificates that we are investigating. And Chair, this is a very serious issue. It is an issue that has, affected all institutions, including even private, that people are actually faking or forging certificates to get employment. It is widespread. There is no sector which has been spared, and we can provide the statistics.
EACC has been granted by court orders to recover all the salaries and benefits earned by the suspected individuals on forged academic credentials.
We've seen a lot of cases politically being withdrawn, but is it necessary really to investigate somebody if the commission already knows there is nothing?
We assess the evidence in our file, they are watertight. That is our view. As to the withdrawal, that is not our responsibility.
Meanwhile, in Siaya County, a delegation of EACC officers led by Commissioner John Ogallo has handed over 2 reports to the county boss, Governor James Orengo, following allegations of rampant corruption at county offices and at the county assembly. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, now focuses on devolved units they believe they have been misusing public funds. Abdiaziz Hashim, Prime Edition.
The lifting of the logging ban was specific to forest plantation, not on indigenous or gazetted forests. Speaking during the launch of a 5-year strategic plan on climate and environment in Kenya, Environment Cabinet Secretary Soipan Tuya reaffirmed the government's commitment to address climate change by increasing the country's forest cover by 30% by 2032 and restoration of water towers across the country.
During the launch of the 2023-2027 Climate and Environment Strategic Plan that was presided over by the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, the controversial issue of lifting the logging ban took center stage.
So we need to embark on that aggressive awareness creation so that Kenyans can join hands with us. And by no means is the lift of the moratorium touching on our indigenous forest.
The presidential directive to open up the forests is not the whole forest.
The CS was keen in highlighting the importance of the strategic plan while laying out the implementation mechanism.
Its resources require a multi-sectoral approach and inclusion of all sectors and players. And we have tried to embody this in this strategic plan.
On his part, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi emphasized the need of prioritizing water towers protection, which have been hugely affected by human activities.
Serious intermediate remedial action should be directed to protecting increasingly vulnerable government gazetted forests in some counties.
The 5 key areas captured in the strategic plan include environment, climate change, and forestry governance and coordination, conservation, protection, and restoration of ecosystem, climate change adaptation and mitigation, agroforestry and commercial forestry development, and resource mobilization and partnerships. As the country gears up to the upcoming African Climate Summit, the launch of 2023-2027 strategic plan has not only been considered as a roadmap to COP28, but also as a benchmark to other African countries. Opicho Chemtai for Prime Edition.
Borabu Sub-County National Government Constituency Fund Management has allocated 2.9 million shillings towards the construction of modern accommodation units for the members of the Special Police Unit. The initiative aims at providing proper housing for anti-stock theft unit who are currently living in deplorable conditions.
These deplorable housing units that lack basic social amenities are home to the Special Police Unit in Borabu Sub-County.
Ile project ambayo tutafanya kama emergency ni kujengea askari wetu wa ASTU, Anti-Stock Theft Unit, nyumba ambazo zinaweza kuwafaa.
In Bomet, the county government has partnered with Red Cross to strengthen vaccination and eliminate zoonotic diseases that have become a challenge in lower parts of the county.
Our personnel who are serving within our departments have also been empowered through this partnership. And we have been able to register a lot of success.
In Siberia Village, Nyahururu Sub-County, over 7,300 liters of illicit brew was destroyed as the fight against illicit alcohol intensifies.
And this is a warning to the few brewers when you are back in this area that the government iko chonjo and tutaweza kushika the few that wamebaki.
In Murang'a, the county government has embarked on a plan to work with local water farms to increase water coverage to more than 90%.
Najua kuna pati ingine ambayo kwa hivi sasa haina maji ya Kabiti, tutaeneza maji, na hiyo ndio ilikuwa sababu kubwa yenye ilitufanya tuweze kuomba hizi kampuni ziingie katika mikono yetu, tuweze kutoa pesa za kuanza kuongeza.
Finally, in Kiambu, county government has initiated a process to secure lands owned by schools amid threat from land grabbers.
Mimi nimepeleka mswada pale bugeni kuangalia kama inawezekana mashule yote ya serikali au ya umma yamepata cheti miliki, ndio tuweze kuweka ua la kudumu kulingana na pendekezo la utaratibu wa wizara ya masomo.
For Prime Edition, I am Teresa Mutai.
Cheza Loto Moto. Sasa unaweza jishindia instantly na Loto Moto. Dial *570 hash. Wakati wowote, siku yoyote ya wiki na mahali popote. Dial *570 hash. Kisha chagua moja kati ya games za Loto Moto. Weka stake zako 50 shillings, 300, 500, 2,000 shillings. The bigger your stake, the greater or the bigger your prizes. Cheza mara kadhaa na kumbuka, cheza responsibly. 18 years and above. Cheza Loto Moto.
What is endometriosis? What types are there? What are the causes of endometriosis? What treatment is there?
Basically, a condition where you have location of the cells of the lining of the womb, yes, where you get menstrual flow coming out, but these cells sit in places they shouldn't. Mm-hmm. When they are sitting in the wrong places, then we use the term endometriosis.
Mm-hmm. And for me, it was very painful, cramping, to the point I always used to be rushed to the ER.
It took about 14 years to get a diagnosis.
Wow. The only way the doctor could help me understand what I was suffering with, was he told me my uterus was growing inside out.
Welcome back. It's now time for business. Kenya is staring at huge job losses due to increased cost of production occasioned by high electricity costs. Workers, lobby groups and employers have told the Energy Committee of the National Assembly that companies have been forced to shelve their expansion and hiring plans, while others have been forced to reorganize their workforce. The committee is probing the high cost of energy in the country that threatens Kenya's investment climate.
The cost of power continues to soar despite many efforts to lower the cost of the commodity through policy and investment interventions. The cost of the commodity has been affected by expensive fuel, a weakening shilling and the removal of energy subsidies early this year. The National Assembly Committee has been engaging various stakeholders with the aim of lowering the cost of electricity in Kenya. Today, representatives from the Central Organization Trade Union, Kenya Medical Association, among other professional bodies, have told the Energy Committee that the high cost of electricity threatens Kenya's job market.
High energy costs put a strain on workers' budgets. When a substantial portion of income goes towards paying for electricity, workers will have less money to spend on other basic items like food.
The trade bodies say that the lack of transparency in power purchase agreements is hurting Kenyan businesses.
You cannot keep an investor or say that we want to attract investors when the ordinary person in that particular country cannot afford to access the investments that those investors must put in place.
The IPPs have exaggerated the matter so much, and the way those contracts have been signed, it's just the government that can leverage on that.
A company like Thika Power, you've already paid them capacity charge, you're finished with them. They're still saying that even after the Kenyans are paid for the electricity, they want to own that company. It's not possible. It's not possible. You can't eat your own children.
Like Turkana is signed in that particular manner, that whatever it is they produce, you must buy by force, even if you have a cheaper source at that particular time. That is the agreement now. Now, with that agreement, there's nothing else to establish other than to understand why it was signed that way in the first place.
The Kenya Medical Association says the strain on hospital operations due to unstable electricity supply was leading to equipment breakdowns, recommending subsidies and incentives for health institutions.
This could be in the form of reduced tariffs for medical institutions or grants for implementing energy-efficient upgrades. We also advocate for the relevant authorities to ensure that electricity tariffs are reasonable and fair for both consumers and electricity providers.
You parliamentarians, you must stand firm, because if the have-nots will always be more than we people, we will be overrun.
The committee chair revealed it has written to the registrar seeking to establish the actual ownership of IPPs after efforts to unmask ownership proved futile. As investigations continue, the committee and stakeholders eagerly await for concrete progress from the committee, hoping that it will yield to significant improvements in the energy sector that could pave way for reduced cost of power in the country. Trevor Ngendo for Prime Edition at Parliament Buildings, Nairobi.
African leaders have called on Russia to release grain supplies from Ukraine following the collapse of the Black Sea grain deal. The African Union chairperson, Azali Assoumani, spoke during the second Russia-Africa summit in St. Petersburg, Russia. This comes even as Russian President Vladimir Putin announced free supplies of between 25,000 to 50,000 tons of grain to Burkina Faso, Zimbabwe, Mali, Somalia, Central African Republic and Eritrea. Betty Kiptum is attending the summit and brings us the following report.
As the second Russia-Africa summit kicked off in St. Petersburg, Russia, top of the agenda for African leaders was the collapsed grain deal that Russia pulled out of, leading to a stoppage of grain export from Ukraine. The deal, drawn up in early 2022, was to ensure continued shipment of grain from Ukraine despite the ongoing conflict. Russia, however, terminated the deal last week, a decision that means security guarantees for ships navigating the Black Sea have been withdrawn. African heads of state, through the African Union chairperson, Azali Assoumani, did not mince words, demanding that Russia release grain from both Ukraine and Russia for the sake of its people.
The resolution of this crisis could save a lot of lives that depend on food supplies. Currently, our continent is significantly affected by food prices. That is why we call on all participants to this process. Please ease the supplies of both Russian and Ukrainian grain to our countries. We are ready to cooperate with Russia in all areas and all sectors in order to ensure peace and security on the continent.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said that Russia is keen to supply the deficit with a view of increasing grain exports between Africa and Russia. In the coming 4 months, Russia will supply grain to 6 African countries for free.
We refused to further extend the deal. I've said that our country is ready to make up for the Ukrainian grain, both on commercial basis and free of charge, to those countries in Africa that are in dire need, especially since we expect a record high harvest this year. But in the near months, 3-4 months, we would be ready to provide to Burkina Faso, Zimbabwe, Mali, Somalia, the Central African Republic, and Eritrea. We would be ready to supply 50,000 tons of grain to each. We'll ensure free shipping of this cargo.
Trade between Africa and Russia in 2022 grew by 10% to $6.7 billion and is projected to grow a further 16% in H1 2023.
The collapse of the grain deal between Russia and Ukraine means that Africa, and Kenya included, is going to have to brace for higher costs of living, especially the cost of grain, including wheat that we access from Ukraine. Today, the African leaders have not minced their words, saying that Russia should release the grain from Ukraine and Russia as well to ensure that lives of millions of people who depend on this grain are saved. Reporting from St. Petersburg in Russia, I'm Betty Kiptum.
Capital Markets Authority has proposed to increase the Investor Compensation Fund from Kenya shillings 50,000 to 200,000 Kenya shillings as compensation when an intermediary collapses. Luke E. Ombara, Director Policy and Market Development at CMA, says the submissions have been forwarded to the National Treasury and the Attorney General for advice. Ombara says there is a need to widen the scope of contributors to include other market players such as Central Depository Settlement Kenya.
The government amended the Capital Markets Act with the aim of creating the Investor Compensation Fund to pay off investors who suffer loss occasioned by the failure of a licensed stockbroker or dealer. The maximum payout is pegged at 50,000 shillings, with the Capital Markets Authority saying that the compensation is too small to make any impact. Already, CMA has sent proposals to the National Treasury to raise the fund from the current 50,000 shillings to 200,000 shillings. CMA Director for Policy and Market Development, Luke Ombara, however, says that there is need to widen the scope of contributors to include other market intermediaries.
So what we are picking from here is that many jurisdictions, including a big one, established one like India, is now seeing the need to establish a fund to address the market development aspect of their mandate as a regulator. There's need to build the market, there's need to engage more on investor education and sensitization and general stakeholder. Not have appeared in the finance bill, but we have another window of engagement that's actively going on towards ensuring this happens.
CMA is proposing to mirror India's stock exchange with the establishment of an investor services fund by stock exchange, which sets aside at least 20% of the listing fees received for providing services to the investing public. The authority is currently engaging with a section of the market players to set out modalities of rolling out the product and establish a capital markets SME fund. The Nairobi Securities Exchange is also seeking to establish a carbon credits exchange in a bid to position Kenya as a global carbon credit trading hub in Africa, which is long overdue.
There seems to be a lot of fragmentation around carbon, and our way forward in this financial year, that's 2023-2024, is to be able to bring together all the cross-sector players in the market, and that will involve mapping all the stakeholders in the carbon space.
Weri Mujenga for Prime Edition.
Close to 1 million flamingos have migrated to Lake Bogoria in Baringo County after the breeding season in Tanzania's Lake Natron. The lesser and greater flamingos are this season grazing for food, with some of them busy putting up nests for the young ones. Tonight on Magical Scenes, Irene Muchuma Odim highlights the beautiful phenomenon of fauna and flora at the Lake Bogoria National Park in Kenya's Baringo County.
It is the high season in the tourism calendar, and the arrival of thousands of flamingos from Tanzania's Lake Natron to Kenya's Lake Bogoria is undoubtedly a plus to both tourists and stakeholders who live off tourism in the region.
We are very happy to tell the entire world that the flamingos are back in millions, as you've seen for yourselves. And this has improved the bookings as compared to the last 3 years. We've seen bookings going up to 95% for this summer season.
Flamingo colonies might breed at different times of the year, and for the flamingos of Kenya, the breeding frequently takes place in Tanzania's Lake Natron before they migrate back to the country, with the young ones in search of food, in this case the algae. The algae's concentration is habitually high in Kenya's Lake Bogoria, enough for the thousands of flamingos and the chicklets. There are two species of flamingos, the lesser and greater flamingos. The lesser flamingos, which are the most common species at Lake Bogoria, are known for their vibrant pink color, which comes from the pigments in the algae they consume. The greater flamingos are heavier and taller than the lesser flamingos. However, the greater flamingos constitute the highest percentage of the global flamingo population. The baby flamingos are usually white in color till they get to 3 months, when their feathers turn to pink. These social birds will be in Kenya between July to November or early December before they return to Tanzania. They live in large colonies to avoid predators and efficiently use the scarce suitable nesting sites. For a section of mature lesser and greater flamingos will, within their stay in Baringo, prepare nests for future young birds, as the rest take care of the current chicklets. During certain times of the year, Lake Bogoria National Park would host up to 2 million flamingos.
They come in flock. It's like the wild beast of Mara. It's only that people have not paid attention. This actually is a migratory route for birds from Europe to South Africa. They take refuge in around Chemosusu and before they go to South Africa. So it's a spectacular place to be.
This is a great county of diversity. When we talk about tourism, we've got it's an amazing place to be, especially if you are traveling, if you love traveling and moving around.
The park also plays host to gazers, where tourists can hard-boil eggs. Besides this, there are wild animals, mostly herbivores, which add to the beauty of the park.
So if you are coming to Baringo, there are 3 important things you should not miss. 1, start with the equator line in Mogotio. Go to Lake Bogoria, which is an alkaline lake, and then you go to a fresh lake in Baringo County, in Lake Baringo. So you have an opportunity to visit a fresh lake and an alkaline lake, one in the same place. That's Baringo.
The government is using all the agencies to have marketing strategies to stabilize the COVID-19 programs. The revenue is now trying to increase from because we actually almost like getting less than even 5 million revenue collection by year, but now we are trying to come up to improve on the same.
Irene Chuma Odim, Multiple Scenes in Baringo.
The net foreign outflow from Kenya's capital markets was 1.5 billion shillings in the month of April, May and June this year, sustaining a trend that has been growing. This was due to the ongoing political tension in the country that has affected the performance of the market and a major weakening of the Kenya shilling. The Capital Markets Authority says it's engaging key market stakeholders on measures that would spur domestic and foreign investor participation in the capital markets.
The Nairobi Securities Exchange has witnessed a serious hemorrhage of foreign investors, with foreign investors withdrawing close to 24 billion shillings from the market in 2022, the highest in 3 years. Foreign investors have been rattled by the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, with bargain hunters hedging their investments in safer markets in Europe and the United States. Latest market soundness report by the Capital Markets Authority shows that a net foreign outflow from Kenya's capital markets stood at 1.5 billion shillings in 3 months to June, which is a drop from the 14 billion shillings recorded in the first quarter of this year.
Looking at the regional markets, even given the issues we are going through, the returns we have seen so far have been very good, and therefore it's very likely that the outlook could improve, because I think most of the investors international are looking at where perhaps they are making the highest returns. So
CMA CEO Wycliffe Shamaya says that the month of June marked the first instance since February 2022 where the market observed a net capital inflow of 113 million shillings, a sign of confidence from investors.
We've seen a continuation of net foreign inflow. And it may be interpreted, as I said, on two fronts. There's been announcements globally around profitability and general feeling that the equity market that was deemed to be performing poorly because of these developments in NASDAQ and all that, which is positive, it seems that it might be on a resurgence. That's number one. There have also been the facilities that have been provided by our development partners, which obviously would abate the supply of foreign currency, which was one of the issues that were raised by the MSAI in their report.
The authority is in talks with Morgan Stanley Capital International, or MSCI, which is an investment research firm that provides stock indexes, portfolio risk, and performance to advise on the best ways to boost market performance. The authority further adds discussions are ongoing to tap other investment vehicles like the devolution bond, project bonds, green bonds, and Islamic bonds. Wairi Mujenga for Prime Edition.
Smallholder dairy farmers from Kenya's milk-producing regions are turning to technology to reduce milk losses through unhygienic storage and spillage. One of the approaches the farmers are embracing is acquisition of portable chillers for local innovators. Here is more on this episode of Tech One.
Government statistics show that dairy farming in Kenya comprises largely of small-scale farmers who supply up to 80% of the over 3 billion liters of milk produced annually.
Of course, it's very important as part of unit economics, very important actor. However, the biggest gap that has been existing, getting milk from the farm gate, this is where the main pain is at. This is where we will map quality control. This is where we will identify this farmer with the volumes they produce.
By engaging innovators like Emastela Gakuo and Percy Lemtuke from Savannah Circuit Technologies, farmers are being empowered by technology. The duo have developed solar-powered portable chillers that help keep milk fresh for longer.
We conducted 2 successful pilots after production of our first prototypes. There's very good feedback from value chains, different actors like the dairy cooperatives, dairy hubs, and even the smallholder farmers across the country. So with that, we've been able to scale this solution, set up a whole facility.
The innovation has now assisted over 22,000 smallholder farmers transport millions of liters of milk safely. Headquartered in a workshop in the outskirts of Nairobi County, mobile milk chillers, each of 100-liter capacity, are engineered, with the workshop equipped to fast-track clients' orders and requests. How are these devices developed?
On the end of hardware, that's where we have custom capacity milk chillers that you can place on any means of transportation. So these chillers are an autonomous unit, solar powered with power backup, that are efficiently able to pre-cool milk by lowering it from around 32 degrees all the way to 7 degrees. So that's what we call pre-chilling. After that, and that happens on transit, so where farmers are able to, we are able to form aggregation points. So from these aggregation points, this is where we interact with the farmers at first point.
The technology is not only providing farmers with the much needed convenience of tracking the movement of milk, but also conserves the environment, as farmers will no longer need to use charcoal for milk preservation. However, the technology requires awareness campaigns.
We need to train them on how to handle milk, which is not part of what we do. We are manufacturers of dairy equipment. Yeah, but we do that because, one, we want them to understand the problem they have.
The two innovators now hope the innovation will trigger better milk earnings for farmers. Alanauko, Tech One.
The Architects Association is calling for the fast-tracking of review and approval of development plans through the Planning and Development Management System portal. The association says the system has since the start of this year experienced substantive challenges, which has cost its members and the country revenue, jobs and investment opportunities.
The 2023 Economic Survey indicates that construction and real estate accounted for over 250,000 formal jobs in 2022, representing 8% of the total formal jobs. The Architecture Association is calling on Nairobi County government to address the challenge of delays in approving development plans through the Planning and Development Management System portal.
It is very incredible that in this day and age, when all these guys are asking for revenue, that we are the ones begging them to take to them money. It's ridiculous. Yeah, they want the money, and when you actually give them their revenue, they are sitting down and saying that you have not paid.
The county itself, in terms of fees, is about 1 billion they used to get. 1 billion Kenya shillings.
Per month.
Yeah, in those applications. So now that is lost. So there is a lot of revenue just to the county, but as my colleagues are saying, what about the industry?
They say the delay has negatively impacted construction of houses.
We shall advise our clients to proceed with project implementation by mobilizing contractors to propose sites. With over 60 days post-submission of applications for approvals and requisite fees paid, but no written communication or objection from the county government.
Frederick Muki for Prime Edition.
Cheza Loto Moto. Sasa unaweza jishindia instantly na Loto Moto. Dial star 570 hash. Wakati wowote, siku yoyote ya wiki na mahali popote. Dial star 570 hash. Kisha chagua moja kati ya games za Loto Moto. Weka stakes zako 50 shillings, 300, 500, 2,000 shillings. The bigger your stake, the greater or the bigger your prizes. Cheza mara kadhaa na kumbuka, cheza responsibly. 18 years and above. Cheza Loto Moto.
Are you a musician, music producer, vocalist, instrumentalist, or artist? Starting from the 26th of July to 2nd of August 2023, the National Youth Council is looking for that one unique identity youth song. The language of the song should be strictly either English or Swahili. Qualified contestants will be judged by industry experts, supported by Permanent Presidential Music Commission, PPMC, and shared online under our official hashtags. Fursa Youth Challenge.
No member of this family should be working for this company now.
And who else to trust if not family?
Are you one of Joel's sons?
I need you to keep a close eye on Nick. I don't trust him fully.
It's nothing close to the truth.
Nick, baby. You've never been so big on character. What's changed?
Can I talk to you in private?
Yeah.
You cannot protect us all the time.
None of you can afford to be caught up in this mess.
I can wash my hands and let you handle this mess by yourself with Akina Jazz and your teeth.
There's someone trying to bring us down. Us?
Why do you think I'm here, Nick? Alice stole our data and document. Do you have any proof of that? You're working on it.
This is a matter of life and death.
Universities are embracing alternative funding models for sustainability and to ease reliance on student fees to fund their operations. Management University of Africa Vice Chancellor Professor Washington Okeo says the light of specification and courses to be offered under the competency-based curriculum, universities have to adapt to new business models like setting up entrepreneurship hubs to generate revenue. Our senior reporter Regina Manyara engages Professor Okeo on possible income incubation and CBC transition preparedness for universities.
2633. Of those, 3 years are going to be spent in pursuing university education. Question is, are universities ready for the enrollment of CBC students? Tonight, we discuss this capacity that universities are building in light of this particular dispensation. And joining us is none other than Professor Washington Okeo. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you.
As the Vice Chancellor of the Management University of Africa, do you think universities in the country are ready for the enrollment of students under the CBC system?
Thank you very much, Regina, for the question. CBC system is a very, very important system, if I may say, because it addresses the issue of education, which is at the core of any society and at the core of Kenya as a country. CBC is coming in to replace the 844 system of education. And 844 system of education came in as a system that was meant to bring in the practical aspect early enough of education and instill it in students at the foundation level. The universities, when they receive the CBC students into universities, they must know what it is that those students have learned in the first place. And that is key, because sometimes universities may start teaching content that probably may have already been covered in the earlier years of the students, and so that is important. Then number two, the universities need to look at the resources that they need. These resources come in various ways. They are soft resources and they are hard resources. For example, the capacity in terms of lecturers who are coming in to train the new students coming in from CBC. And there are also the physical spaces, like the lecture rooms, the theaters, the laboratories, and all that will require, the facilities that the universities will require to be able to train and teach these learners when they come in.
You say that universities need to tweak, the studies that they are currently offering to suit, ahead of the enrollment of the CBC students.
Yes, and I think that's a very good angle that you have brought. The CBC system of education has got three pathways that they have, modeled. There is the STEM pathway, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Then they have social pathway, social and business, and then they have the arts and sports pathway. So those three pathways are the ones which CBC basically have designed or have been designed for CBC. And it makes sense because the entire space where the country's economy is and the social structure of the country are actually embedded within these three pathways.
So we are likely to see universities, unlike what we have experienced in the 844, you walk in through the door, you'll have an engineering student within the same facility, as well as one who is pursuing maybe the social sciences in the same, under one roof. But then maybe in the future we're going to have, institutions of higher learning that are predominantly either STEM or into social and business, as well as arts and sports.
True, Regina. And one of the reasons for that, for what you said, is because CBC is very, very resource intensive. So if you look at the resource requirements for STEM, for example, it is very expensive to set up a science subject or curricula. It is very expensive to set up, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and so on, because they require a lot of equipment, and not to mention that even the lecturers coming in to teach those are also very expensive because of their background and their training. And therefore, because of resource-intensive nature of this, it would be difficult for universities to kind of have a cross-cutting non-niched interest or focus across the three STEM areas. So it will be difficult to find, or rare to find, a university focusing in STEM and also focusing in sports and arts, and also focusing on social sciences.
Looking forward, what would be the main challenge, for universities to optimize on, the services that they offer?
I foresee a challenge in universities, kind of now, their mindsets changing. Because the current mindset of universities is to go out there and offer education in all the fields possible, and we have seen it. Even some universities, without naming names, that started on a technology and science-based situation, have now changed. They are now offering, business courses. They are now offering, basically, science and technology and engineering courses that they started with. What is the reason for that? The reason for that is survival. There's a lot of competition in terms of the number of students that are coming in. They are not enough for all the universities to share and still be in a sustainable position. And therefore, universities have diversified. So that is going to be one of the main challenges. How will universities, retract their current practice of, admitting students in all the possible areas of learning that learners require? And how they address that, will really be very, very interesting. I don't want to pretend to offer a solution to that. Yes. That is a matter of each university looking at it individually and coming up with how they can address that.
But now, other than relying on government funding, what of alternative funding? How would universities can they leverage on alternative funding to do away with the funding challenges?
Funding, and you brought it very well, is one of the most critical, issues that need to worry universities, and it indeed needs to worry any organization that is in business. And universities are in business, only that their business is to offer services to the students. Relying on student funding, unfortunately, has been the mainstay of most, if not all, universities in this country. And to the extent that about 80 to 90% of university income, most universities' income, actually comes from student fees. Now, the danger with that is the number of students is not controlled. The number of students who qualify or who come to the universities is not controlled by the universities themselves. So the universities therefore need to look at some alternative sources of funding. And this has been done very well outside this country. If you go outside this country, in countries like South Africa, you have universities there that actually are integrating with the societies, with the communities, and through integration with the communities, they get support and sponsorship from the communities. Similarly, in our campus in Kisaju, in Kajiado County, we have very good understanding and cooperation with the community. And in fact, in Kajiado, we are already setting up what we call entrepreneurship hubs within the community, within the towns. For example, in Kisaju town where we are already setting up an entrepreneurship center or hub where we are going to integrate with the community and work with the community towards seeing how they can improve their businesses, those who have not started businesses, how they can start businesses, and so on, and then also partner so that we can do some research and find out how best we can offer solutions to the problems that are plaguing that community.
The cost of higher education is, far from the reach of a majority of, students and their families. How then do we how do we make the cost of higher education more affordable?
Yeah, I think that is a tricky situation because the cost is normally driven by a lot of factors. There is the cost of the economy itself, coming from economy side. There is the program that the student himself or herself wants to pursue. If they want to pursue the STEM, then obviously those are more expensive because of what equipment and laboratories and so on that are required for that kind of training. One thing that can be done is to see, and unfortunately the government who could actually lower the cost of education directly, since most of the students who train in universities are actually sponsored by the government, is also looking for ways to generate money. So it is a dicey situation. It's very, very tricky how to lower the cost of education.
There's been a lot of talk that the reason why we have a high rate of unemployment among the youth is that in as much as they have gone through the system, they're still not qualified for the job market. Yeah. And that's why we're even having an uptick, in TVET courses. How can research, correct this?
Yeah, thank you very much, Regina. I think that is one of the most important issues that needs to be addressed because more often than not, we've had, industry players, including the public service, say that some students that graduate from the universities are not job ready or market ready in terms of being employed. And part of the reason why that happens is because there is not a very strong linkage between the universities and the industries and the industry sector and the universities, including the public service. So one thing that we need to do to correct that situation is to strengthen that link. The industry needs to appreciate, and when I talk about the industry, I'm talking about the employment, sort of sector in general, not necessarily just private or public sector only, but all of them. They need to appreciate the fact that the students that are being trained in universities are being trained to come and work with them, to come and work for them, and to come and ensure that there is economic development that is going on, and that this can only happen or can happen better if the industry players, public and private sector, allow students to go in there and get some experience, particularly during their training, and that is very, very crucial. Because then, when the students finish at the end of the day, then they will have acquired the practical experience that is required.
We're talking about the role that the universities can actually play when it comes to matters of innovation and incubation, gravitating and moving away from, seeking employment and being their own employers, entrepreneurship.
First of all, let me hasten to say that we as a university have set up an innovation and incubation center, which we have. And the way it works is we have set up systems where our students collect ideas or come up with ideas, and then we pass them through the system of evaluation, assessment, and modeling, coming up with a prototype of if it is a product. Then there's a prototype of the product, which product is tested, and then after that it is tested in the market and can be commercialized if it is found to be viable in the marketplace for commercial purposes. And we have a few students who have actually come up with systems. We also have what we call Innovation Week in the university, and during this Innovation Week, this is where students who have been pitching their ideas come and now pitch their ideas to a wider, selection of judges, some of whom come from the industry, some of them come from the industry, so that we look at those from the practical nature of what solutions are they coming in to solve in the society, and so on and so forth. And whatever ideas that are successful, that look market ready, then we commercialize them, and we can even partner with other interested organizations in the society.
Which areas as a university are you going to keenly invest on?
In management and leadership. That is what we focus on, and we teach management, leadership in various disciplines. We do it in economics. We do it in fact, it cuts across all the professions, if I may say. Doctors can come in and hone their skills and learn further issues on management and leadership. Similarly, engineers come in, and we have students from across the divide. So for us is niching on management and leadership, and that is what we are preparing ourselves to.
Prof, correct me, education falls under sciences, right?
Yes.
So as a university, you're inclined more to STEM than the arts and sports and social and businesses.
We are offering here education arts. So we are not on the STEM side, we are on the art side. So it would be in terms of maybe the pathway that would be relevant is in terms of arts and sports.
Would a learner be best having gone through 844 or CBC, looking at the market needs currently?
Interesting question. And I say interesting because, and I said this earlier, 844 was begun on the basis of it coming in as a practical sort of oriented system. Unfortunately, the educationists kind of say that 844 was not a system per se, but 844 was more of a structure rather than a system. So a structure may have a lot of disconnects, and that is evident in how 844 ended up being more of what we call a summative sort of a process rather than something that is progressive. It was meant to examine students in a progressive manner. So I would say, and I also need to hasten to say that any system is as good as how it is implemented. And CBC is going a notch higher. It ends up with creation. And you have seen kids that are going through CBC actually dismantling laptops, dismantling mobile phones, and reassembling them. That is at primary level, okay? Even before junior secondary, they are doing that. And they are looking at the engines of models of the engines of vehicles and planes and so on. So they're learning through the practical experience, through a practical approach. That way, they are likely to end up being more practical in nature than what we call being theoretical, which is what we have now. And you asked me to link it to the TVETs. Yes. Yeah, this is very, very important because the TVETs, the TVET institutions, when we had a lot of people or kids going through the TVET system of education, we had ready availability of, people at that level. Practical people. For example, plumbers, we had masons, we had carpenters, we had, qualified mechanics, and a lot of people were actually coming, supporting themselves through that. However, a time came when kind of the TVET institutions were reduced, and therefore a lot of people now started looking at how can we get the degrees to be able to earn a living. That situation is likely to change because with CBC, a kid graduating at junior secondary school level or senior high school level already has enough practical skills to enable them self-employ themselves. And that is where the country should be moving towards.
So we will not water down what Professor Washington Okeyo, the Vice Chancellor at the Management University of Africa, has had to say in regard to where we're going with the implementation of the curriculum, competency-based curriculum that has been in place since 2017, and universities being challenged there to quickly adopt to the current system. The devil is in the implementation of this particular system. I'm Regina Manyara. You're watching Prime Edition on KBC Channel 1.
Thank you, Regina Manyara, talking about sustainable universities and having structures that ensure universities are there ages to come. Now, it is time for sports. We have Wahome on the other side. Wahome, welcome back. I haven't seen you for a week. Tell me a little bit about, there's a lot of excitement that is going on in sports. Something coming up that is being organized by the ministry. Please tell us a little bit about it.
Well, actually, this should have been at the tail end of the bulletin, but I'll just mention
it's the excitement. I'm so excited about it, and I'm not the only one.
Is that multi-sport athletes, and by an athlete doesn't mean athletics, but sportsmen in different disciplines will get their awards tomorrow. And there is also one for collectives, because, for example, you may think of a club, a sporting entity where you play a team sport, so they're going to be honored. So, but look out for that tomorrow. But in the meantime, let's just take a look at what has happened today. Cynthia, I'll be giving you more details on that. So moving on is that Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba has reiterated the government's commitment to supporting the Kenyan teams as they prepare for the Paris 2024 Olympics. Namwamba was speaking when he led a host of Kenyan sports personalities and legends in celebrating the country's previous Olympics achievements. The National Olympic Committee of Kenya President Paul Tergat, World Cross Country Champion Beatrice Chebet, and African Javelin Champion Julia Ziego were among those in attendance at the brief ceremony held at the National Museums of Kenya in Nairobi.
It is a beautiful moment. You know, Olympics is the pinnacle of sports on the planet. And Olympics has a very special, rich history dating back over 3,000 years. And for Kenya, we are the most successful Olympics nation in Africa. 113 medals since we participated in the first Olympics, Tokyo 64.
Tumejiandaa kabisa na ile kitu tupekeaga ni kuhakikisha tumeleta wale partners kama ministry na sponsors ili tuweze kuhakikisha tupatie wanamchezo wetu ile usaidizi wanahitaji kuprepare tukielekea huko Paris Olympic Games.
Kitu ya maana ni teamwork. Kuwa na teamwork hiyo ndio ina lead to success na kuleta medali mingi. So tukikaa pamoja na kusaidiana na kutia moyo kila mmoja ni kitu ya maana yenye itasaidia kila mtu kwenda kung'ang'ania kuleta medali.
Nimependezwa na kuja kusikia ile mikakati imepangwa na NOC, National Olympic Committee, wameweka mbele, na pia serikali pia imefurahia kumsikia minister bila anazungumza kuhusu mipango yao.
Now, the Kenya Under-18 Girls National Rugby Sevens team is all set for the upcoming Commonwealth Youth Games scheduled to be held from the 4th to the 11th of August 2023 in Porto, Spain in Trinidad and Tobago. Head coach Sarah Gola has unveiled her squad that comprises of players picked from various schools in the country. The young Lionesses will face 5 other strong teams from across the Commonwealth, and namely they are Trinidad and Tobago, Canada, Wales, Australia and Fiji. The Rugby Sevens competition will take place from the 6th to the 8th of August. The teams ranked first and second at the conclusion of the pool matches will compete for the gold medal, while the teams placed third and fourth will battle it out for the bronze medal. The last 2 teams in the rankings will vie for 5th place.
Out here to prove that the standard that they set, it is good, and also just to ensure that once we do it very well, NOC will be able to continue this. So I think this is just a start of the many ideas they really want.
I believe this is the best team, and they are going to do their best. I've watched them playing, I've watched them during their trainings. They're doing well. All of them, they're actually still in school. We are happy, and this is the next generation for Kenya rugby team. Forward, looking for the Olympics and a bright future for them.
And as a team, what I've seen, we are all focused. We know that we are going to do our best. Our coaches, Coach Sarah and Weru, they are prepared as well. We know that we are going to be the best team, and also we are. And for those who have remained back, we are one team.
Now, the Kenya national boxing team, the Heat Squad, arrived safely in Yaoundé, Cameroon, ready for the Africa Boxing Championships, which run from today, the 6th, until the 6th of August in Cameroon, having been trimmed down from an initial 24-member provisional squad. The 15-member team are hunting for medals at the Continental Tournament. Hit Squad have been training at the Mathare Depot and the VMX Fitness Center at the Village Market in Nairobi for the last 2 months. The boxers were selected after a fiercely contested 3-day trial concluded at Nairobi's Charter Hall last month. Now, moving on is that more than 200 golfers are expected to participate in the 3rd leg of the DTB golf tournament set for Nakuru this weekend. The 2nd leg, held in Kitale, Trans Nzoia County, saw home player Harun Degwa crowned the overall winner with 40 points. The 1st leg was held in April at the Sigona Golf Club in Kiambu County. Last year, 5 successful golf tournaments were held in Kakamega, Mombasa, Kericho and Kisumu, and culminated in Eldoret with over 4,000 participants taking part. The DTB Golf Series aims at growing the sport across the country. Nigeria came from behind to defeat Australia 3-2 in a dramatic FIFA Women's World Cup match played today in Australia. Nigeria got their goals from Uchenna Kanu, Osinachi Ohale and Asisat Oshaola, while host Australia netted through Emily Van Egmond and Alana Kennedy. In the early morning matches, USA drew 1-1 with the Netherlands, while Portugal defeated Vietnam by 2-0.
And now Van Egmond! And she's done it for Australia! Jabadi. Now there's still time for Nigeria. One last play of the half, perhaps. And there is the equaliser, Uchenna Kanu. Lozia underneath it, so too Oshuala, and it's in! It's over the line! And the Super Falcons!
Quality service. Once Australia does find the wide spaces.
Oh, they need to be careful here. Oshuala's in! Oh my goodness! Oh my word!
Too nonchalant.
Back. And towards the penalty area, flicked on by Kennedy, and Ford was there!
Ahale as well. And then Caitlin Ford gets beyond
Arnold. Cooney Cross with the ball in. Arnold's there, and it's in the back of the net!
And Jude Bellingham scored the first goal of his Real Madrid career as the Spanish Giants defeated Manchester United 2-0 in a pre-season friendly in Houston, Texas. Meanwhile, Leandro Trossard scored a brace to help Arsenal beat Barcelona 5-3 in a friendly match played in Los Angeles. Here's our international football wrap.
The 2-0 win over Manchester United in a pre-season friendly. Bellingham opened his account for Madrid with an exquisite finish past goalkeeper Andre Onana after just 6 minutes. Madrid made the game safe in the 89th minute with Lucas Vazquez crossing for veteran forward Jose Lu to light up the NRG Stadium with a stunning overhead kick for the 2-0 win. Meanwhile, Arsenal were in top gear as they saw off Spanish champions Barcelona 5-3 in a friendly match. It was 2-2 at halftime following Lewandowski's opener in the 7th minute, Saka's equalizer 6 minutes later, Rafinha's free kick goal and Kai Havertz tap in. Trossard netted twice in the second half to give Arsenal a 4-2 lead. Ferran Torres pulled one back for the Catalans 2 minutes from time, but Fabio Vieira blasted a shot in the 89th minute to secure a 5-3 win for the Gunners. Meanwhile, Richarlison scored a hat-trick to help Tottenham Hotspur thrash Lion City Sailors of Singapore 5-1. Although the hosts took the lead in the 14th minute, it was all downhill from there as Harry Kane scored an equalizer from the penalty spot just before the break. Richarlison scored a quick-fire double after the break.
As we saw on 2 or 3 occasions, he was in the opponent's box for Richarlison. He's in there again.
Before Lo Celso slotted a fourth in the 73rd minute. Richarlison completed his hat-trick in the dying minutes of the game to ensure a huge 5-1 pre-season win for the Spurs.
You felt it was his day. You felt he'd get the 3.
In the Premier League Summer Series taking place in the United States, Brighton defeated Brentford 2-0 thanks to Simon Andigra's double.
That's a good ball. Adingra, chance to shoot here and score again.
Jadon Philogene and new signing Moussa Diaby each struck to give Aston Villa 2-0 win over Fulham.
Here's Diaby, got a real opportunity to mark his debut in style, and he takes it.
Newcastle United and Chelsea played out to a 1-1 draw in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia.
It's Miguel Almiron in for Newcastle. It just had.
So that's the sport for tonight, and remember that tomorrow evening a whole load of sports persons in country are going to be awarded by the State Department for Sport, and this is through an initiative delivered by the Ministry of Youth Affairs, the Arts and Sports. Cynthia.
Wahome, I have to ask you, because there's a lot of excitement and talk about it. What makes this different from all the others we have had before?
I think this is the one multidisciplinary sports award event that is not tied to the success of an Olympics, an Africa Cup of Nations, a World Championship, but it is saying you have done well for Kenya, and we want to say thank you. That is all. And the most important thing you'll ever need to tell anybody, the most urgent thing to say is thank you. And thank you, Cynthia, for being with us tonight.
Thank you too for always making me enjoy 9 p.m. Prime, and I'm definitely looking for tomorrow and all the action in the sports world as they are having. What time is it going to happen?
5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Safari Park Hotel.
And we'll definitely have the details for you right here at KBC. Thank you too for watching us. We do want to wish you a very good night from me and the rest of the team.
And thank you too for being with us.
Cheza Loto Moto. Sasa unaweza jishindia instantly na Loto Moto. Dial *570# wakati wowote siku